So, this is episode 6. We have a few questions from some prior episodes that we can answer since um, I didn't really announce this, so I don't know if anyone's going to be watching live. But um, I want to start with some news from the SARF headquarters. We opened up the office partly, and when I got there for the first time in quite a while, I was surprised to see these guys had appeared in the headquarters. They were just sitting on the couch beside a stuffed duck that we are currently hosting. There was no alarms were set off. They somehow just materialized into the headquarters. So, and with this somewhat unnerving message written on their bodies. I don't think there's anything, for the community to be concerned about. They do seem to be aliens, and they obviously have some sort of technology that I'm not aware of, where they somehow, materialized into the headquarters without setting off the alarms and whatnot. So anyway, we are looking into it. Either there was some sort of uh, not supernatural activity, but something that we don't really understand, with our current understanding of physics, or it could be that a SARF uh, residents, let them in and just hasn't told me. So anyway, they seem to be perfectly peaceful and lovely and interesting. They're actually pretty big. They're, I would say, maybe 3 feet tall. Both of them. They seem to be from the same species, but I mean potentially related, but they're not twins or anything. Um, So we're going to be talking to them soon. We've kind of put them under quarantine, given what's going on with the pandemic, and also given the message that they seem to be conveying on their stomachs. So anyway, that's just the latest news from SARF headquarters. And that said, hopefully next week we will be broadcasting from SARF headquarters, which means hopefully the beginnings of the videos will not always include me trying to figure out the nature of audio and whatnot. So anyway, so that's these folks. Um, so there are just a few questions kind of left over that I hadn't answered from some of our previous episodes. One of which I thought was an interesting one. The question was, how do you tell the difference between a stuffed animal and something that somebody just drew a face on, like a piece of furniture? We are a very inclusive community. The greater stuff, I say we, but I mean the greater stuffed animal community, of which I'm obviously not a member, and I can't speak for stuffed animals, but uh, I am definitely a caretaker. Um, I would say that one of the best indicators that something is a stuffed animal and not a piece of furniture that someone has drawn a face on would be that the consistency, the texture of the object. A stuffed animal tends to be softer. Not all are completely soft, but they tend to have fur on them, and they don't actually all have faces. But a piece of furniture is, like, for instance, I'm sitting on this piece of furniture. It's a couch, and it is soft. It's squishy, and it does have cushions, and it is um, uh, it doesn't have a face on it. If it did have a face on it, honestly, I don't know if I would be able, if I have the authority to say that it is not a stuffed animal. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, that stuffed animal is not the best term anymore. But for now, it's kind of what it is. So even though this couch is stuffed, I'm sitting on it. It has a hard surface. You could sit on a stuffed animal if the stuffed animal allowed you to, but well, it's not made for that typically. I mean, you have some stuffed rocking horses. I mean, the possibilities of this are endless. But I would say that the main ways to tell are consistency, texture, the softness and squishiness, as opposed to like a harder surface. Even though this, couch is a piece of furniture and has cushions, it does have a harder surface underneath. And most stuffed animals don't. They don't have like a structural like piece of wood. I would say the drawing the face on it, that's not really the best indicator, because I mean there's plenty of stuffed. We had a stuffed pineapple, for instance, in the headquarters. We had a stuffed crayon, and those don't have faces. But I would say that structure, that hard structure, and that it's kind of meant to sit on or to place things on. Like if I tried to put, a glass on top of Gula, our spokes platypus, it would just fall over, as opposed to a table where it would support the weight of that object. So that's that question. Can stuffed animals vote was another question. We've kind of covered that before. They can't, and it's unfortunately it's still something that is the suffrage movement, as we've talked about before, is still going pretty strong, and I think that we might do a whole kind of episode on the suffrage movement and the history of the suffrage movement. So you can look forward to that once we're back in our normal place. Things you can do to help your stuffed animal who's experiencing quarantine-related depression. I might have answered this in a previous episode, but I think we're all experiencing some negative effects of the isolation and the changes to our usual social lives. And, stuffed animals are also experiencing those things, to varying degrees. I would say, if you're sheltering with stuffed animals, then, you have the benefit of being able to hug them. I think hugging them, snuggling with them is pretty important. I think it's beneficial to you and to them, typically, if they're that into that. Activities like, I know a lot of people, a lot of families are doing a lot of puzzles, those sorts of things where you can all kind of work together, and it keeps your mind busy, so you're not constantly thinking about social unrest and inequality and politics and all of the other things that are happening right now. So Puzzles, yes. Reading is good. Sometimes reading aloud to a stuffed animal is helpful to you and to the stuffed animal. Um, Also, it might be a good time for them to take up new hobbies, like watching you garden. Gardening is a very, it can be a relaxing thing to do, and I think for a stuffed animal that can't necessarily move on its own, watching you garden is also kind of a peacemaking, internally. Um, Journaling, people talk about journaling and talking and like gratitude. I know that um, these days we're helping our residents. We always help our residents write their own bios, but we've been encouraging them to, write a little bit more. Write about uh, just how they're feeling, and it, physical activity isn't as important for a stuffed animal. So I know that a lot of people are, talking about how important it is to maintain, to get exercise. Well, if you're going on a walk, um, bring your stuffed animal along. Your stuffed animal can't move on its own, but doesn't mean it doesn't like activity and exercise, and fresh air, getting out of the house. Um, it gets very oh, I almost said stuffy, but that I, we should probably do a whole episode on things like that as well. But anyway, um, so yeah, getting out of the house, getting exercise, journaling, gratitude, all those things that work for you, I think will also could potentially work for your stuffed animal. Okay, so I think I just had those few questions, and hopefully next week or later in the week, we will talk about stuffage. And for now, thank you for watching, and hang in there. Um, be nice to each other, and we will see you again next week.